we're to blame for what's happened because we become so addicted to oil. And if you go back and look at in 1970, we were importing 24% of the oil. And then the Gulf War came in 91, and we were importing 42%. And now we're coming up on 70%. Now, you can hear me okay, can't you? Good. Let me put a couple of numbers. I know all of you can't see this, so I'm going to write really large. But we now are importing almost $70 billion worth of oil every year. I can promise you, and I know what I'm talking about, 700 billion is a number that's going to go up, not down, unless we do something about it. And we can do something about it. We have the power to do that, and we must do it. So here we are, 700 billion going out of the country. What can we do to cut that number down? When you look at our options, we don't have many. Okay, we've got oil, and that's in decline, and we're producing 5 million barrels a day and 2 million barrels of natural gas liquids, which will act as oil. Okay. And then we look at the world production a day, and it's 85 million barrels. Okay, 85 million barrels, and we are using 21 million of that. That is 25% of this number, and we have 4% of the population, and we only have 3% of the reserves. So now here we are using 21 million barrels a day, 25% of all the oil in the world every day that is available to the market, and we only have 3% of the reserves. Something is out of whack. If you look at the power generation pie, that we all know that coal has 50% of it, nuke has 20%, and natural gas, and this is the one I want to focus on, 22% is natural gas. Okay, I would like to take this out of the pie and use it for transportation fuel. If you look at the DOE study of April 07, very, very good study, that they clearly show you in the wind corridor in the central part of the country, east of the Rockies and from Texas to Canada, that we have ample wind in that corridor to do whatever we want to. I mean, we can create as much power as we want to out of that corridor. But so many jobs are going to be created in these corridors if we can develop a system, if we can come up with the exit of the power out of the corridors to the east and west coast. Tough question, and Congress is going to have to provide that for us. We need to have the PTC, the production tax credit, which the Democrats have been for. Both parties say they're for it. I've talked to them, but this is hard for me. Honestly, I'm not real astute from a political standpoint. When both sides say that we're for the PTC, we're for, so, God, why don't you pass it then? And they're for something plus the PTC, and we want something plus the PTC, and we can't, and okay, we're logged up and we don't get it passed. But anyway, we're going to, because this is so important to this country. If you look at the wind that you can do 20% wind, well, you can do, I'm going to use 22 because it fits my model here. So now wait a minute, you're laughing at me, but you've got enough wind in that corridor, you could do 40%. I'm serious. 20% is 200,000 megawatts, and the cost of that's about $500 billion. And it needs the production tax credit, but to do 200,000 megawatts, you need a $15 billion a year tax credit, but $15 billion is insignificant compared to the $700 billion. Thank you. You're listening. That's good. That's good. Okay, now, I do 22%, and this all can be done private money. It doesn't require only the tax credits you got to have. Okay, do the wind, all right? If it goes here and you take the natural gas to transportation fuel, you can reduce the $700 billion by 38%. Now, that's a number. The first thing somebody says is that, wait a minute, the infrastructure's not in place. The infrastructure's not that difficult, because 30% of the transportation fuel used every day in America comes from goods movement. So we're talking about trucks. I'm not so interested in your car. I'm interested in those trucks. And I can do the trucks fast because, and this doesn't call for retrofitting. We can, the truck fleets like Swift, for instance, their fleet of 20,000 trucks turns over every 2.5 years. They're buying 23 Kenworths every day. And when you look at that, you say, well, yeah, you don't have to get rid of what you have, but change it when it runs out. And I think within 5 years, we can reduce the dependency on foreign oil by 30%. 30%. And we can do better in 5 to 10 years. We're talking about real numbers here. And remember, natural gas is ours. It's half the cost of gasoline and diesel. It's clean. We're cleaner by 70% than gasoline, 80% than diesel. You've got something that's going to bridge you to the battery or hydrogen, but it'll be the next generation. The two things that I'm trying to solve here is, one, the dependency on foreign oil because of how it affects our economy, and the second thing I want to get is the security. And there's no question, we have a real security problem importing 70% of our oil. I mean, we could be brought to our knees very quickly. We got the SPR, and that would give us a little relief if we didn't get things straightened out. But if something got cut off from us, say 20 or 30% of our supply, it would be, I think we'd come to immediate halt. What we have to have is, coming up in this next election, we're going to have leadership that's going to take it to the people and explain to them. Now, on mypickensplan.com, a poll was out on it this last weekend. 74% of the people like the idea. They said 65% of the people said Congress will block it. That's kind of disappointing. I wish I hadn't looked on page 2, just read the 74. But I don't believe that. I think that we're coming up on a point here where everybody is going to recognize it. And we're down to a point where leadership is going to be key in the first 100 days. If we could get an energy solution, and I believe we have one, and I've been open on the point. If you have a better plan, tell me what it is. And this is all about America, is what we're talking about. He's not talking about Boone Pickens. We're not talking about Democrats or Republicans. We're talking about America on this one. And they've got to have a plan, and we've all got to work together. The leadership has to tell the American people, look, we are together. This is not a war where people are killed. This is a war, though. And don't think it isn't, because we have to reduce the dependency on foreign oil. Thank you very much.